this is Mrs. Guyman from UTV. I teach Math 2, and I'm here to talk with you and show you some things that I do to help reach our SAGE improvement goals. So the first thing I wanted to show you is my kickoff page. So this is like our warm-up, and a lot of times, at least 3 times a week, I will put SAGE type questions in their warm-up for them to work on. I pulled these questions directly from USA Test Prep and from the SAGE website, so some of the practice questions that they have on there. Then I like to actually use this polling a lot because that gives me a quick glance, a quick opportunity to check and see what students are engaged and what students understand and don't understand. I also like how these are written so that students can hopefully understand what it's asking. And I publish the results to the whiteboard, which is another fantastic tool because it gives you a graph. It gives the students a graph, a way to see, oh, look, most of us answered B or most of us answered C. Yeah, nobody answered D. Obviously, it can be factored. So those are the types of conversations that we have. And then we talk about, you know, why did most of you answer it like this? And we have a discussion on, you know, how you factor this and what the right answer is. And sometimes I'll have students, you know, raise their hand and want to use the mic and volunteer to answer, you know, and explain it. And it just works great. And I think it's a good opportunity to, you know, get students engaged and use those questions to help us become more acquainted, and it works as a review as well. So these questions, this was from the very beginning of the year, and yet we're here in semester 2, and we did this a long time ago, but it's a good review and helps them to remember how we factor. Another thing I do, I've tried really hard this last semester to use breakout rooms to help with student collaboration. And this is just one example of one of the breakout rooms I did. It also gives them an opportunity to use these higher DOK problems. And I think that higher DOK level problems come in when students have to create and come up with their own problem. Instead of me just giving them a problem, here you go, write it in standard form, tell me, you know, what these definitions are. They're having to come up with this, so they really have to have a deeper understanding of what these problems are and what they look like. And so in this example, the first student was to make up a polynomial, and I gave him some specific directions there. The second student had to take that student's polynomial from student 1 and write it in standard form. And so now they're like, okay, they're having to reorganize, and they're having to make their brain remember what standard form is and how we write those things. Then student 3 used some definitions that we've been learning, and they wrote the degree, and they named it by its number of terms. And then student 4 was to check. So every single student was engaged that was in that breakout room in some form. But it's just taking those deeper thinking problems and having them come up with them and having them solve them. And in the end, you know, then they're if they can show me that they can do this, then I know that they have a deeper knowledge of the content. Here's an example of a student. I had them come back to the main room and copy and paste their boards into the main room. And here's an example of a group. And you know, I jumped into this room and I said, student 4, how are they doing? Check their work, give them some feedback. And I really got some good comments from student 4 in several of the breakout rooms. They would say, good job, you did it. Or things like, oh, student 2, are you sure that's in standard form? Maybe you should check, you know, term number 2. And so there were some really good conversations and feedback from the students, and they were interacting as much as they can in an online setting with each other. We also talked about, you know, how we get from here to here, and why this problem maybe wasn't correct, and what was going on. And so not only did they have collaboration with each other in a small group, but then we brought it back into the main room and had a deeper understanding of the content with the whole class. The last thing I wanted to talk about was using my data to drive instruction, and I've really focused and tried hard to do this with every lesson. So I pull a statistics report from each quiz, and I call it yesterday's review, and I go through and we talk about the statistics here, and so I tell students, oh look, only 76 of 151 of you answered this so far. You know, I need you to get this done. And of those 76, look at what our average was. It was a C. It was a 71% basically, and you know, that's good. That's passing, but we always try to get it higher, and we talk about, you know, what we can do to get that score higher, and then I go over the most missed questions. So this question right here and this question right here were the ones that were missed most frequently. And so we discussed why maybe we missed them, and we talked about how we can do them correctly. And I would have students that would jump in and say, Miss Guyman, I want to show how to do this one. And so it really becomes a great conversation and a great review. And I don't mind spending the extra 5-10 minutes here, you know, making sure that students understand what they did and why they did it. And I think that it really helps me to put into perspective, you know, what these students are understanding and what maybe I need to focus more on. And so those are the ways that I have used data and breakout rooms and my kickoffs to help focus on our goal for SAGE this year. Thanks.